So there's a common concept in programming called state management. And now we kind of know what state is. We've seen it in React. State is really the state of our application. And what determines the state of our application? What do we actually say in state? What do we say in state?
Data.
Yes, I would take that as the right answer, data. So data is our state. If data changes, what the user sees changes. And we need state management for this. This is a huge, rendering process. When something changes, even if it's one key in an object, we need a state management system to notice that change, affect the change, and let it show to the user. Now, React does this very well on its own when we're just using set state. But when we're putting all our state inside of the app component, like this, if this was the full CRUD app, we'd have get to do, delete to do, edit to do, add to do, and there may be 4 other methods that we're writing in here. And this page will grow into a 200 or 300 line long component that gets harder and harder to manage, and eventually it makes sense to separate it. Let's take it out of ActionJS, let's put it somewhere else, and have it be its own state management machine. So in React, this is called context. And you can make as many of these as you need. Typically, you won't need, in the space of this course, you won't need more than 1 or 2. But you can always use more. And what it does is we have our app component again. That may load a bunch of other components and other components, right? All branching off one another. And I need data to get to this component, this component, this component, and this component, and maybe this one. And so now we have to put state here. We have to keep it in app. But app, like I said, is going to grow into this large thing for larger programs. So what we build is a context that floats above our app and provides data to it. So as app, I exist. You need me, let things know. And what this can do is now that app knows about it, we can connect any component directly to our context that needs it. So it's not connecting to app, it's connecting to context. So it's like the streamlined way of passing props. I don't have to follow the standard route down each branch. I can just warp it to the spot that needs it. And this right now, we already have one of these. What have we wrapped around app so far in our index.js? Browser router. So browser router is a context. It provides props and routing capabilities to any component that needs it. We just need to learn how to build our own because we have our own complexity that we'd like to pass the same way. Cool. We all know what this means now. So other version, if you're not using context, you may be using Redux. Redux is great because it works on any framework. You can use it on React, Angular, Vue, or just JavaScript state management, where context is React specific. It comes with React. So that's why we're using context. But Redux, you'll see it all the time. And in fact, one of the new React hooks that they introduced a few months back is basically the functionality of Redux. So you can use like React's version of Redux in React, which is pretty cool. So that is why we have context. What does it look like? It's not too bad. It is a class component. We've written plenty of those, so it should be getting a little bit more comfortable. Let's delete all of this. And we're going to start off with a simple example. We're not going to start with an API just yet. We're going to use our standard counting example where we have an increment and a decrement method. But we're going to have all that maintained in context. Import. We're going to start it off here. Now we're going to approach this first as if we weren't using context. And then we're going to move everything over to context that needs to be. All right, so we're going to maintain a count in state. It starts at 0. We're going to display that count as this .state.count. And we're going to have a button that increments with an increment onClick method. So we'll write increment here. So this .set state with previous state and sets count to previous state.count plus 1. I know I set that up quick, so is there any questions about what's happening? Pretty straightforward examples of art. I know my syntax, one line here isn't necessary. I could break this up for curly brackets. Why? Oh, goodness, I am, aren't I? You are spot on with that. Thank you. I don't know what I was thinking. Import React. Okay, and we'll start this up. Make sure it works. Yay. It clicks and it goes. Now, there is no reason, let me be clear, there's no reason to use context as something that's simple. Absolutely not. But it's really hard to learn something complex with a complex example. So let's start simple, learn something complex in a simple way. So context is thinking, what is my global data? What is something everything will need? So let's say I have a format here as well. We'll be playing pretend for a moment, and I have a handle change. What would handle change be something my entire app needs access to? What is handle change? What have we used for so far?
To change state.
Change state using on what, like, why would we be using it? What would we be building? Like a form? Yeah. So that form is the only thing that needs the snap. My whole app doesn't need the snap. So this would not be included in my swap to context. But let's say I had 4 or 5 components that need the ability to increment, and I have 4 or 5 components that need access to the count. That is global data. This is like our do. This is like our get to dos. This is something that we'd like to be able to use anywhere if needed. So this state and this method is what we'd maintain in context. So the app is working. We're going to break it, and then we're going to make it work again. So how do we create a context? Well, we open up our folder directory, and we're going to make another subfolder now called context. And this is to keep you organized. Anything in this folder are context providers. They provide data for our app and functionality. The conventional name for this is provider, so we'll call this the count provider.js, and it's a component. But this is just a name. It doesn't have any special functionality because I just called it that. And it would be a class component. From class count provider extends component. Cool. Is there any difference between this class and the classes we have built so far? There's no difference. Isn't that nice? So setting up our context provider is no difference. It's just a class component. But we now need to introduce React context. It is a property of React. It's a function you can call. So before I create my count provider, I'm going to create my context object. I'm going to say const count context. equals react.create context. And this creates a context object and saves it here. Crazy. Let's console log count context. What did it give us? Oh, we're not going to be able to see this console log until I use this file. So we're just at a lot for a moment. Let's do this really quick, just so we can see it. Let me put it here so we can see a console log. And what did we create? Interesting. So there's two words up there that we should be paying attention to. Provider and consumer. They do what they sound like. Provider provides data. Consumer consumes the data the provider provides. So we have two pieces. They have to work together. One gives the data, one receives the data. And by default, that's all it is. There's no state, there's no logic in any of these. We can give this some data, like an object, and then this consumer would be able to use that object. And that's all that context does out of the box. So we are going to use a class component to make sure our context can maintain and provide state to our application. So we receive a provider and a consumer inside of this object. Now, what we will return in the provider is the context's provider. So I made up this component, right? Provider, but what it returns is our count context provider with open and closing tags. It's crazy. We've never seen the dot syntax instead of so this is totally fine in React because this is the function, this is the component. We're just saying out of this object, use this component. If we don't like this syntax, we always destructure this and say give me the provider and the consumer. Then we just have to use the word provider. That would also work. But I'm going to keep it this syntax because you'll see this quite often on the web. Okay, so this is our little provider. Now, in our index.js, when we had the browser router around app, we have never built a component like that ourselves that we can wrap around their component. And there's a keyword in React that allows you to do this. And it comes from props. Every component receives it, we just never use it. But we're in a class, we have to say this, but it's props.children. And what this keyword does is says this component, when I use it, it's going to be wrapped around another component. That's what this allows us to do. And that's it. So I can now wrap this component around my app.js because this is what I'm returning. Well, the provider needs to be told what to provide to my app. So it receives one prop called value. And it's an object. Give it an object. And in this object, we can say what to provide. So what we're going to take out of app.js can be global data. Count. So let's start there and just delete state from app. And now our app is global. And we will put it in state here. And we will say provide count from this.state.count. So we're building this little object of what it should be providing our application. Well, what else do we want to provide our application? The method. So we're just taking data and methods. So I'll take the increment out. I'll throw increment over here. And I'll provide that method as well. So they also provide something called increment, that is this method, this type. So I'm building a provider and saying, this is the object you are going to be giving my application. Cool. And we have successfully built a provider. Great, everybody. So let's go put it in the right place. This now needs to be told to provide this data and this data to my app. So I'll go to my index.js and I will import my count provider from the context folder's count provider. And now I can wrap my app.js. Isn't this a great way to start off a Monday? You're like, you should have slept in. No, it's great you're here. You need some practice with this.
Question, if you also want to use the browser.
Cool. That's a good question. So let's say I wasn't using React browser. Can I have multiple providers for my application? Yes. You can have as many providers as you want. So we're going to also support browser routers. We give you syntax, browser. We're not going to use it, but browser router from React router DOM. And we would want browser router to be the outermost wrapper. So it would go outside of any of our providers. Now we have an app stage. Okay. Now browser router, the reason we want that on the outside is we should build that one. So if it has a problem, if my account provider needs data for routing purposes, it has to be inside the browser router getting provided that data, just like my account provider is providing data to my app.js. But both of these are now provided to the app. It's just my account provider is also getting the data from the browser router if it needs it. And there's certain reasons why we need to do that, but just always keep browser router, the outermost wrapper, and then your provider or providers, and then lastly, the app. So that is part one of context. That is setting up your provider. This is what I'm providing, this state and this method, and this is how I tell this provider. I'll say, here's what you're providing, and I'm going to wrap you around another component that you will be teaching about this data. So I wrap it around my app component. It is the props.children. It's getting loaded. Just to prove this, on my app.js, let's display hi. Don't do this to me. Oh, this dot increment and this dot state dot count don't exist. I get it now. There's my hi. Okay, so app.js is loading. But if I go to my account provider and I say, don't return anything, now the rest of my app never loads. Because I didn't tell this account provider to wrap around something else. So this never got read or loaded. So if I don't tell my account provider to return this.props.children out of this wrapped component, my app will not load. Okay, so the next part